Disclaimer: the opinions you're about to hear from fellow Airsoft players and enthusiasts do not represent the opinions of Scott Hollenbeck or of the USAirsoft channel. Move as far away from the real steel community as possible. From day one, growing the Airsoft community was my mission, even if that meant I had to start off small. It first started off by getting my local field as much exposure as I could, then I wanted to grow the state of Texas as a whole, and now I'm trying to balloon this up to helping the hobby of Airsoft as much as I possibly can. But for this episode of Airsoft Opinions, I asked people on the USAirsoft community tab here on YouTube what ideas would they suggest to grow the game of Airsoft. I think I got a lot of great responses, along with some very critical hot takes. People were talking about playstyles, rules, how to treat new players. I even got some anti-2A responses, which was kind of surprising. But either way, let's see what people had to say. Real quick though, I want to let you all know that we have our own subreddit now for all things USAirsoft. We're at 100 members already, and I would like to keep growing this thing as fast as possible so people can interact with the content that I make, even when it's suppressed here on YouTube or taken down from Facebook and shadow banned by Instagram. I'll be hosting the next Airsoft Opinion submission post there and a whole lot more. So join the USAirsoft subreddit as soon as you can. I'd suggest making more fields beginner/kid friendly. Just an idea. Have someone of authority of each field create intro to Airsoft lessons for young ones, not only to introduce them to what Airsoft is, but also how to get good at it. Overall, I'd say make Airsoft less intimidating and more casual for those beginning. Speedsofters can still do their thing, but be more aware of the little ones and even show them what speedsofting is like so maybe even they can get into it in the future. The fact is, Airsoft itself isn't going to grow unless it has a newer generation to make it do so. Controversial, but put Speedsoft as a completely different sport. Separate games, players, and fields. Ban the player, not the platform. Too many fields punish everybody for the actions of one or a handful of other players. A local field near me recently banned the use of HPA because of one player. One! So now, those responsible players can't use HPA. So again, ban the player, not the platform. People need to realize the difference between a MilSimmer, a Speedsofter, and casual Airsofter. People tend to forget the last one, and people end up feeling like they need to pick either MilSim or Speedsoft. Just have fun with whatever you find fun about the sport. You don't need a label to go with. Highlight a different field every week or every so often. Go to different states, look for unknown fields, and bring them into the spotlight. Start with Go Airheads in Colorado. It doesn't need to grow, it needs to be fixed and gate kept. Wow. My club tries to take a new person to every game that we play. We have recruited a couple people who have decided that it is fun and they want to keep doing it. I guess that people should go out in a friendly way and ask, hey, we got this Airsoft thing going on, would you like to come along sometime? And in my opinion, there is a lot of people that are at least curious to find out what it's about. Also, we will begin hosting Friends Days at a field we are partnered with. The idea is that we have days where a majority of players are first-time rentals, so they have a more fun and engaging intro than running into the same brush camper 18 times. Wholly separating the cultures of paintball and Airsoft. I wish the sport didn't have such a negative stigma. For some reason, people see paintball as a more approachable and normal hobby. I think a lot of people view Airsoft as like militia training or something, when it really can be a laid-back and fun sport for anyone. Sure, there is hardcore MilSim if you want that, or highly competitive speedball, but those are very much optional events for the hobby. But I just wish that people had less judgment and were more willing to view Airsoft as the fun and approachable hobby that it is. Airsoft needs a friendlier way of introducing new players. A lot of videos are mag dumping people or people just overshooting, and when a kid wants to try Airsoft and parents just see mag dumping or overshooting, they won't take their kids. Full auto allowed on cheaters. Dumb. You could claim everyone isn't calling their hits, and the restriction of full auto is done for safety. Very controversial. Move as far away from the real steel community as possible. I don't care what your views on guns are. Airsoft is a harmless hobby and shouldn't be connected to an issue that is inherently political and controversial. The guns can look and feel real, and even have licensing from real gun companies. There's no problem when video games do that, but any talk of using airsoft to train for real steel should be discouraged. That's like speed running, scaring politicians and getting airsoft banned. See what's happening in Canada? When I got into airsoft years ago, my parents hated the idea because they read news articles and some militia using them to train or something along those lines. I'm older now and can make my own decisions, but I think a lot of people are turned off from the hobby because it's being connected, mostly by gun guys, to a political issue that they disagree with, even though airsoft has nothing to do with that. In short, I don't want my hobby to get outlawed because some guys were too broke to afford simunition. So basically, pandering to politicians to save the hobby? Throw the industry that creates the IP Airsoft likes to copy under the bus? Also, what are you going to do about all the licensing agreements? Or the fact that Elite Force/Umrex also owns Walther? Throwing the gun industry under the bus to save Airsoft is cowardly. The politicians should keep their hands off guns and airsoft guns, period. Your parents and many citizens got psyoped into believing the word militia has a bad connotation, despite it being mentioned in our founding documents dozens of times. The government made the one thing they fear, civilians assembling and defending and exercising their rights, a taboo. That needs to change. Honestly, if you're an American citizen, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be fighting for your rights and telling the government to pound sand instead of trying to save your hobby because it's actually tied to something greater. When did this country lose its balls? Did you forget that this country was founded by literally giving another government the middle finger? This kind of pandering and giving in is what got us in this political mess in the first place. People need more education on firearms, their rights, and should have free reign to buy and use whatever airsoft guns they want. It's basically an extension of the Second Amendment at this point. Honestly, I think less realistic airsoft guns would grow the sport massively. What would an ignorant parent want their kid using more? The most perfect looking gun? Or a paintball tube with an air tank on it? There is no airsoft gun the way there is a paintball gun. A shift away from realism could help a lot, even with areas with laws against airsofting. Gel blasters have grown in popularity. The guns aren't the problem, the laws are. Yeah, no. An entry method of it, sure, but I want my replica imitation firearms. I like collecting them and playing with them. More people teaching newcomers not to buy a pistol first. Don't get me wrong, Springers can be fun, but you'll get way more use out of an AEG, especially as a first gun. I think it's mainly the fear-mongering around firearms in general. When I told my mom about how I wanted to start airsoft, she was on the fence because of the guns. I had to convince her really hard for her to buy me my first replica. More firearms education is needed in this country. More cosplay! Don't take yourself so seriously and try to have the newest next level gear. Just enjoy what you think is fun, without caring what others think is cool. I'm talking cowboy outfits, Borderlands, period pieces, etc. Also, more large-scale games like MilSIm that don't lean into the military side. I want a zombie apocalypse game, aliens, GTA stuff. I once went to a Halloween event dressed as an NCR Ranger, and I was the only one there in costume. Separate speedsofters from casual play. Too many players are getting wrecked at casual games and not wanting to come back. A couple YouTube channels are to blame for making this more of a joke instead of seeing the real problem. I had to talk with my local field staff and got them to try out Speedsoft only games between casual games. More beginners show up and keep showing up, and Speedsofters can now compete against like-minded people. The only way to grow Airsoft is to grow Speedsoft. I would like for it to be with some regular guns instead of all the HPA, mag adapter high kappas or MTWs, so it'll show some variety, in my opinion. Why would speedsofters choose regular guns instead of custom-built / performance-oriented high-performance HPA builds? I think for Speedsoft to grow, it isn't the guns that need to change, rather the price for a competitive gas gun / AEG. Well, it comes down to everyone on the field having the same or similar HPA builds, and I don't think that'll allow for the creativity that Airsoft has. I'm not completely against Speedsoft builds, but how would we balance that? MilSIm and SpeedQB really need to stop hating each other. In the end, it ruins everyone else's day, and we are all playing tag with guns. What my team does is focus more on having fun and doing stupid stuff, like rubber chicken grenades, or bring a speaker on your person, blasting white girl music. So many people are caught up with beating the enemy team, they forget to screw around a bit. Number 1. Stop the cringy cheater videos. Sometimes you don't feel, and you shoot them again. No need to get mad. Number 2. Stop the tribalism around certain brands. As long as the BB comes out and people feel it, who cares? Number 3. Help guide new players or rentals trying it out for the first time. Number 4. Try to market more as a training tool or as a sport depending on MilSIm or Speedsoft. Number 5. More collabs with games. Like, why does Nerf have Fortnite stuff but Airsoft doesn't? 6. Stop with the bang bang rule at CQB sites. Just lower the damn joules. A buddy system. Game days where each newbie gets an experienced player as a buddy. This way, it's not that overwhelming to start playing. This is actually a very good idea. Teaching new players what to do and letting them get an idea of the game. That's actually how this community grows. I think that making it more available to people at younger ages. As someone who came from the Nerf modding community, the ability for people to buy something in a store that is competitive and able to be brought into view, like a front yard or park, i.e. not a realistic looking replica, was a big draw to me. Maybe less powerful, less realistic replicas could open up a new market to younger players or prospective players with strict parents, with no real space to use the replicas close by. We need way more fields all over the world, because anytime I want to go play Airsoft, I need to go on a 2-hour car trip to the capital where the closest field to me is located. More fields are created by more popularity. It's not easy. Number 1. Push Airsoft into a more mainstream sport globally, either with Speedsoft or a slower paced version of Speedsoft with a bit of MilSIm in it, to bring people who like the idea of paintball or similar into the sports, which can act as a gateway for people to go deeper into the sport the media doesn't truly like globally. Number 2. Limit the sweatiness allowed in public games from both MilSimmers and Speedsofters, as it's no fun being a less experienced or new player just getting pissed on by players more experienced, sweating like they have something actually to gain from it. Number 1. Yes. Number 2. Skill issue. Honestly, it's hard not to sweat when your mindset gets into it sometimes for me. I just try to survive and get points / wins without realizing it. Skill issue? I am trying to make public games more friendly to people starting out, instead of them trying it out and then get shot by one person over and over again. Me, personally, I think that Airsoft is kinda dying, which is sad because parents think it's too violent. Is it? How is it violent? Because it's kinda cool. Maybe only your parents say that. Not my parents, but some of my friends' parents. Make many more friendly experiences for young people. I'm 15 and starting Airsoft soon, and the industry can't run if there are no new players. Also, more beginner-friendly guns. Most people can't afford to buy a Novrich as their first gun. If we had more Aqua places, there could be Airsoft boat wars, swimming operations, capture the flag, like that. AEGs have left the chat. Insurance has left the chat. Polar Stars too. Only things that would work are mechanical HPA builds. Idea is badass, but oh, that liability. You could put it in a waiver, but like another has said, what are we gonna do when the AEGs short out? Gun collectors. The people who collect guns need to be in the Airsoft community. Airsoft is just cheaper to collect and you can use it more. Why would I collect Chinese pot metal? Airsoft guns are made of inferior materials, and they rarely follow blueprint. Not to mention, they will never have any actual collector value because they're toys. Airsoft can be very fun, don't get me wrong, but nobody serious about gun collecting is going to get into Airsoft for the collecting aspect. Encourage more loadout diversity. It's always the same 4 guns at any field or store. Bring people from the real steel gun community into the fold. Make guns more culturally acceptable. That'll have the opposite effect. It'll tie a harmless game into an incredibly controversial political issue. Regardless of where you stand with guns, it would be bad for Airsoft. You do realize that Airsoft guns have licensed agreements with real gun manufacturers, right? Because they want to use the IP that cost the defense industry millions to create. Don't tell me you don't get excited about the new Daniel Defense this or H&K that. Don't want anything to do with the gun industry. That's laughable. The gun industry is Airsoft's best advocate and always has been. Otherwise, Airsoft companies have zero business being at SHOT Show and IWA defense industry shows if they plan on distancing themselves. But sure, throw away your best advocates, I guess. Airsoft's best advocates are YouTubers, bar none. No one outside of gun guys cares at all what's at SHOT Show. But if you take a look at what's going on in Canada, Airsoft's connection to Real Steel nearly got it banned. Be persistent. Don't give up. Be kind to each other and have fun. Take a friend who does not play Airsoft with you during a game day. The community grows by inviting those who haven't played yet. Show them the good side of the community. Have more swap meets. It's a good way for new players to get guns and gear and old players to clear out the unused stuff in their collection. The first thing that comes to mind is the fact that cringe videos of Airsoft like fighting and arguments are the most popular thing about our hobby. It makes people turn away from the sport. It also makes people think that they can act that way. I think the excitement of altercations during games has people's attention too much on the end of the internet, and doesn't highlight the fact that the sport is about team and friendship building and working together. I cringe just thinking about those videos as I read this. Well said. Just provide an entertaining experience for the players. The community pretty much sucks them in after that. Everyone is so amazing and personable. On our community club's social media and YouTube, we allow our players to showcase their footage and experiences ethically to make them feel closer to all. On the off seasons, we have a community broadcast page where all the players can do their own tutorials, interviews, and skits to keep the hype until summer. I hope this helps. Cheers. I suggest that mainstream media platforms chill out on the throttling and banning of toy BB wars. The strongest way to grow is to retain the numbers you have. That way the numbers never go down. Then you can focus on recruitment. Retention becomes a problem when the culture is not right. The best way to fix the culture is to call your own hits and police your own ego. I make it a habit of calling anything that feels like it could be a hit, even a soft one, rather than questioning whether or not I was actually hit. Worst case scenario is that it's one hit elimination and you lose the match. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes baggy or thick clothing is to blame. I get it. Airsoft hurts. It's part of the game. There's no sense in getting mad when it's possible that someone didn't feel your hit. Maybe they never did get hit. Your aim and judgment is not absolute and infallible. It's a game, and losing a match isn't some sort of blemish on your personal honor. But some players wrongly believe that it is. The guy who shrugs hits or takes themselves and the game too seriously is usually the problem. People keep saying that we need to work with the firearms community, but what have they ever done for us? All of the gun tubers make fun of Airsoft to their audiences and make us look like stupid kids. I say we should break away from the real firearms stuff and embrace fictional gun designs. That way, we don't go down with the firearms ship when more platforms decide to restrict and censor that kind of content. Face it, they want us to support and stand up for them, but they would never do the same for us. 1v1 Micah, Mayfield, or Garandthumb. Dude, I'm trying, but I'm not getting any responses. And that's it for this episode of Airsoft Opinions. I honestly think a great way to grow Airsoft is to definitely invite your friends to at least try it. I believe in the one friend tells a friend and then that friend tells another friend and so on effect. I also don't care how anyone plays Airsoft or with what gear they play it in, as long as they follow the rules and don't act like a jerk. I like and enjoy all styles of this hobby, and I try to keep an open mind as to why people use what they use or play the way they play. Another way I'm trying to bring more people into the hobby is with my 1v1 me series, where I challenge other YouTubers outside of the airsoft scene to a couple rounds of airsoft. I've done a few of these episodes, and the last one was honestly one of my favorite videos to edit. I really would like for you guys to take a look at it and then tell me what you think about it. I would love to get some big gun tubers on for an episode at some point, but until any of them respond back to me, I'll look towards other creators that I watch regularly. A lot of airsofters mean well, and we'll see more of that in the future videos that I have planned. And if you would like to be a part of those videos, then please sign up to our new subreddit. I'll leave a link for it in the pinned comment below. But until that next video drops from the city of San Antonio, Texas, this has been Scott Hollenbeck, and I will be sure to see you all next time.